like Miranda July and George Saunders, those are my favorite short story collections. She wrote one collection, Blogs and Bozziger, and George Saunders wrote several short story collections. And then in terms of like comedy, I have a friend like Simon Rich who writes really great straight comedy and seems, and he's hysterical, and I think of him kind of like he's like almost, I think of the way he thinks of jokes is almost mathematical. He knows exactly what makes people laugh, and he's perfected, and he's fantastic. Then, of course, like, there's S.J. Perelman and Woody Allen, who were, like, let's say the grandfathers of this kind of short fiction, or at least I would say my grandfathers, because that's what inspired me. And then, so like when I discovered The New Yorker and McSweeney's, they were the people I had read before I discovered that, and that's what people are doing now, and which seems to me kind of like an offshoot. And this is not false modesty, but everybody's like in the shadow of what Woody Allen did with short fiction. And I mean false modesty on the part of my generation, because what he did was so unusual. Who else for short fiction? Geez, I don't know. I'll try to think of some other great name and then throw it out as though I'm well versed in it. So, so Moby Dick is one of my favorites. I just love what he does with sentences. Never wrote a boring sentence. That's what people say. Can't write a boring sentence. That's what they say. Alexander Hemon, he's fantastic, and he did, what was his short story, The Question of Brutus? I forgot his short story collection. It's fantastic, but I prefer his novels. I mean, not prefer, but I really love his novels. And Junot Diaz, Drown, that's a great short story collection. Okay, so, yeah.
Did anyone in particular inspire the 18-year-old girl voice?
Yes, I have a little sister who's like the sweetest, most well-adjusted kid, and in her first week at college, she called me, this is like 5 years ago, she called me, and she said something like along the lines of like, my fucking roommate just sat on my fucking bed in her fucking jeans after she was fucking out at a fucking store. And like, I'd never seen rage like that from a human, you know, and I'd never seen anything like that from her, certainly. And I realized, oh, she was kind of just like the rest of us, kind of just making a difficult transition in life and reacting to it in an irrational way. In her case, it came out as this brief rage. And I said, I was trying to think of solutions, you know, maybe you could talk to the roommate. No, it's not a fucker. And then, and she's very self-aware, has a sense of humor about it too, but for some reason she was overcome with rage at that moment. I said, you know, it'd be funny, why don't you write a blog called My Roommate Stole My Ramen, where you kind of detail the worst things that a roommate could do, and it'll relieve your anxiety, and it'll also make you laugh, and it'll be funny to read. And she thought about it, and she said she didn't want to do it. I said, okay, well then, give it to me. And so I thought about this character for 2 years because I couldn't figure out what the voice of this thing would be. But I knew, and then I was reading a lot of David Foster Wallace in preparation for a movie, and he uses a lot of endnotes. And once I saw the endnotes, I thought, oh, that's the ticket. This is a girl who would use endnotes, so she would detail every single aspect of her rage. And she would do it in such a kind of labor-intensive way that it would be a really funny way to detail, like, the depths of her anger. And so that was like the key, and once I figured that out, then I was able to write it, and it kind of really poured forth, because I really like the character. It's my favorite character in the book, and I could write a lot more from her, but the kind of overlap of my interest in it with yours would end it where the book ended. Yeah.